Americans are putting their money behind their faith, and one financial company is adding to the growing sector. Bountiful Financial is recently launching a new index fund on the Dow Jones and S&P 500 indices, screening out companies that go against Christian values in an effort to democratize faith-based investing. Joining me now, Bountiful Financial co-founder and CEO Reed Stedman, and Bountiful Financial Head of Christian Investment Solutions, David Friedman. Great to have you both with us. Obviously, there is a marketplace for faith-based investing. We've been seeing that increasing over the years. And so how did you tap into that to be able to offer that to people?
Right, and I think it's important to pull back, and one thing I would say is, hey, don't call it a comeback. Faith's been here for years.
Yes.
Faith-driven investment, it's been around. The overall market's about on the evangelical Christian side. And so really that's what we were tackling in our collaboration with S&P. If you look in the U.S. alone, the market's around 22 trillion, but today it's about 100 billion in assets, so there's a massive gap. And so the opportunity is to build that bridge, and that's really what we're doing in this collaboration with S&P in launching this index, the S&P 500 Christian Values Index.
One of the issues with this, David, has been, if you look at the performance of the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ, sometimes the indices, like this is one critical point in time in the marketplace where the indices might outperform these particular funds. But many people will say, you know what? The fund is still doing well, and it's pretty close to where the S&P or the NASDAQ is. And so to fulfill my obligation as an investor and a faith-based investor, I'm okay to give a little bit up to feel good about what I'm investing in.
Yeah, the goal of this index is to provide something that's very benchmark-like, to have it be very broadly diversified, very much in line with the S&P 500 itself in terms of its risk and return profile. And so because it has that diversification, and also there is in the methodology, there's a truing up of the sectors of the new index. Once you exclude the companies, you bring the sectors back in line with the weights of those in the S&P 500. This results in a tracking error that's very, very tight to the S&P 500 itself. So this is an index that can be used for benchmarking the core of someone's portfolio. And so that is really powerful. It's not a niche thing. It's not going for alpha. It's meant to be truly a benchmark that's appropriate for that core part of someone's portfolio.
Right. And you talk about the trillions of dollars in this marketplace already, Reed. Talk to me a little bit about when you speak to investors, what they're looking for, what they've told you, what the feedback is, and how they feel about their investments.
You know, there's been great work done in this industry, so we're sitting on the shoulders of giants. A lot of companies have been involved. What we're really providing is this core part of the portfolio. That's what's been missing. A large cap, beta passive, low cost exposure to the beta of the S&P 500, for example, and that's been missing. So this index is a platform, and we hope and we believe and we know there will be hundreds of new products and ETFs and things launched on that will get, if you're a Christian and you have a 401k plan or 403b, right now it's really hard for you to get a product that is low cost, that tracks the S&P 500 and is aligned with your values. But we're enabling and we're going to empower that with this partnership with this collaboration with S&P.
And how accessible is it when people want to find this? How do they find it? How do they get involved? Say there's somebody who wants to do this kind of investing, but they're not.
Right. So first of all, we would say talk with your advisor, and there's new technologies that allow people to invest in indices like this. I would say that there's financial products that will be coming that will track this index. Because of regulatory reasons, we can't kind of point those out, but they're coming. And so there will be many ETFs, mutual funds, different products, financial products of different types that will allow for access to this index.
And Jackie, what we would say is today it's about education before the evolution. So if you're a Christian and you're out there, call your financial advisor, call your 401k administrator and say, this is something I want, so that they can start thinking about it, start doing the research in advance of this whole market like taking off and accelerating.
Understood. Well, this is really exciting stuff. Happy to speak to you both. And for those who aren't invested, they might have an opportunity to dip their toe in.
Absolutely.
Great to see you today. Thank you.